Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. I'm your host, KJ. And this is my spoiler review for episode 6 for the new DC comic show series on Max called The Penguin. This is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen this, pause this, give me a thumbs up because I appreciate this, and it would definitely help my YouTube channel grow. Go watch all the episodes of The Penguin, come back, and let me know what you think about all my spoiler reviews, including this one. Leave a comment below and let me know how you feel about each and one every episode and just how you feel about this series and what is your DC theories about the Batman, the Penguin, and any more DC characters that you may think may show up in this series of season 1 of the Penguin. Let me know in the comments below. Again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now let's get in. Episode 6 starts off with the Penguin explaining what's been going on since the last events and showing us how much has changed and seeing his new business evolve from starting from 2 buckets, half of the mushrooms are dying, to now a full set grown business, drug dealing, factory type thing. And all under this ground where Ground Zero is at, which is Victor's, the neighborhood that Victor grew up in. And then we see a scene between Sophia and Dr. Rush, and they're, having intimate together. And it seems like a 50 Shades of Grey action going on, while Sal Maroning is staying with Sophia. And it was very interesting because it just seems like how the camera angle was, like they went from one scene to the next scene. It just seems like the kitchen is next to the bedroom. Obviously it's not, but it just seems a little odd. But because that's a big mansion that was once known as the Falcones. And just the way it was, but I know it wasn't like that, but it just seems like that. I just want to put that out there. And then they're both talking about how to plan to get the Penguin. They want revenge on him. Sal Maroni wants to get revenge for his wife and son. And of course, Sophia just wants to get revenge on him for everything that has happened to her. He is the main cause to why she is where she's at today. And she's out for revenge. And, we know she's been looking and she's finding. They're looking for, somebody who he cares about. And obviously the one thing that he cares about is his mom. And, they're going to the old apartment where he was staying at. And they're just trying to find whatever. And it seems like she's not going to find anything, but eventually she does. And it was very interesting, too, when she does. So, they know he's hiding, and they just can't find him. And so we learn that Penguin, Victor, and Penguin's mother are still in the same, again, abandoned building in that neighborhood. And we also see Victor come face to face with this bully of a drug dealer of the neighborhood. His name is Squid. And throughout this episode, this is the thing where, he's like, look, if you don't let me meet your boss, like, I'm going to snitch and I'm going to find work. And he tried to pay him off, but, this is the part where Victor now, like I said, this is the moment now Victor has to face his fear, overcome these things, because he did brutally shoot him right in the throat. And, that was his first kill, his first murder. And, in that episode, we see, like, how Penguin, comforts him. It's like a big brother, little brother scenario type. But throughout this episode, Penguin's still kind of savage, still showing tough love to Victor and anybody else. Like, he's always showing through this episode he's out for him and him only. Because even in the moment where we see in this episode, Penguin has to see his mom, and she's just not getting better. And his mom, Penguin, was telling him like, "Hey, you gotta put me out like Old Yeller," basically. And at first he didn't want to, but he promised he will. And because she doubts that all this is gonna work out, she doubts it because they're hiding out. They're not like in their own place with their own electric. But he does everything he can because we see through this episode too that Penguin finds I think some type of politician. I'm not sure, but he's with the politicians, with the government basically, and he's got some dirt on him, and said like, "Hey, why ignore me? That hurts my feelings, And verbally whooping on him, torturing. I think he grabbed his nose or tongue. No, he grabbed his nose with some pliers and told him like, "Look, you're gonna turn on that the electric in this neighborhood, like give me some power," and which he does. And it's all working out, but it shows in this episode, I think Penguin is going to, murder his own mother, basically, in this series, I think. And, it's going to be very interesting when that does happen, if he does. But it just seems like that. But we can tell through this episode that he really loves his mom, and this is not easy for him. But now this is a time where Penguin is showing everybody in his crew that he's a strong, powerful leader now. And we can see like the crime in Gotham has gotten a lot worse since, let's see, this is episode 6. So the first 5 episodes, Gotham is now getting worse. And, it's only time for the Batman to, fix all this in the type of way. And another thing that happened in this episode is we finally see the character Eve finally get her time to shine. In this episode, we see a scene where the long-awaited confrontation between her and Sophia, and they had this conversation, I should say, and it's very intense and well written, I would say, for this scene. And it just shows how smart and capable of Eve is to making Sophia rethink the idea that sex trafficking is a bad thing, but a good business move to do. And, Eve's trying to tell her, like, look, you and I have a lot in common. We're used to men always putting us down. You know how it is from her father, and just trying to smarten her up a little bit. Like, don't use this against you. Use it for you. Because, Eve's looking at herself, and she made it very clear to Penguin that, hey, if you're not number one, we can't be together, basically. And so she's looking at Sophia like, oh, she's got everything together. She's got a plan. She's making big moves. And she knows that, Penguin doesn't really have a chance. That's what she feels, and that's what she gets out of that situation. And it adds so much to it, to that character. And the respect between the two women, they end up having one another, has like such a difference to it, and really satisfying to watch. And Eve lets her know about Sophia, about Ground Zero, where to find Penguin and her mom, because that's what she sees. That's what she's gonna see at the end of this episode. And they're giving out free samples because they're getting prepared for the worst. Penguins gives a rah-rah speech about the Gold Summit, and it's a very powerful speech. And finally, all the other gang members or crews or whatever you call it, they all grab their beers and pop the top and cheered for him, And, the whole thing is they're gonna make a name in Gotham, basically. Like they'll be remembered as legends. And it's kind of funny. It reminds me of the video game, the Batman Arkham Knight. It'd be the third one. Well, no, not the third one. The second one, I believe, in the Arkham Knight trilogy of the video game. It's basically where or no, it'd been the third one. But anyway, there's within that all three of the games. I'll just say it like that. In the story of it is, I think Joker once wanted to be remembered, right, in the game. Like when he finally is killed within this game, we know the toxin and the Joker toxins is in a system, and he starts hallucinating, and Batman has to overcome that fear. And the reality is, nobody remembers the Joker, right? And that's the idea of what Matt Reeves is doing with this the Batman universe, as they call it, or Elseworld worlds, as James Gunn calls it, right? And the idea is, people don't really remember the Riddler. They already forgotten him in the sense of it. Now they're all thinking about the flood. But they're also thinking about now too is the how much this drug that Penguin is dealing out that is affecting Gotham. So the crime rate has gone up, and now we see Penguin making a name while everybody's forgetting about the Riddler. And that's the dynamic of this series so far, is we're watching these villains trying to make a name for themselves to remember in the history. But this is obviously all leading up to one thing and one person only, which is Batman. And obviously they're not going to have Batman in the show like that, but which would be cool if they did. I mean, why not? But when it gets to the next Batman film starring Robert Pattinson, he's going to be more a heroic Batman, the greatest detective doing his thing, right? And this is kind of this show's building it up towards. But to watch Joker get to this, or not Joker, but the Penguin to it, is very interesting and really fun to watch. And again, at this end of the episode, we see Sophia finds where everybody's staying at, and she's watching Victor and the Penguin's mom dance to some music. And again, this is an idea they're doing this at night, so they're not worried about Batman, but it's the idea of, I think, what's going on, because everybody's asking me, how can all this happen if Batman exists in this universe, right? And this is what I explain. From the first Batman film, this is kind of like Batman trying to get his feet wet. He made some mistakes, and they made it purposely in those scenes, like El Rata, where it's El Rata, bat with wings, but they thought it was a penguin, a bird with wings, and they thought it was penguin, but it was just a code for URL. So Riddler's kind of not very smart or clever with the Riddlers sometimes with the Riddlers, but it's the idea of Batman's trying to get his groundworks right. So that's why at the end of that movie, he had that narrated speech where he's like, I know what I must do. Batman is more than this, than what he was really trying to do in the first place. So now he knows he can make a difference, and he can just be himself, Bruce Wayne, and Batman. And that's the idea of it, right? Well, here's the thing. That was just year one. After year one, this was October. This is the fall, basically, that's coming towards wintertime, which we know the Batman 2 takes place in winter. That'd be the season of it. So you have to kind of think that Batman's getting better at this stuff while the Penguin is succeeding and Sophia, but their egos are going to get really big and they're going to feel like they're untouchable. So when they finally do get back to the Batman 2 from this show and the first Batman film with Robert Pattinson, when they get to that second film, this is all going to lead up to what happens into that second film, which is really cool. Now we're seeing these villains have these like an origin story. This is like an origin story for Penguin in the sense of him becoming who we know and that we recognize from comic books. I guess who we know and love in the sense of it, if you're a fan of DC Comics, obviously. But that's the beauty of this show, is we're just seeing an origin story. We're seeing Penguin come from the bottom and rising to the top. Same for Sophia. You know, she don't even use the Falcone. She uses Gante. So she's Sophia Gante. So she's already making her own thing. And she wants to be known too. Like, she's going to make some noise. What they both fail to see is the more they want to have their name thrown around or talk around Gotham City, the more you become on Batman's radar. So that's the idea of it. So, yeah, they're going to succeed throughout this whole season. But the more they get better and the more big moves they make, the more they'll become on Batman's radar. And they don't realize it. They think they're outsmarting Batman, but they're not. So that's the idea of how they're trying to portray this show, which is really cool, you know. But again, you don't need Batman right now. I personally wish they would, but that's just me. But other than that, really great episode for the three reasons. One, we see all the characters in this show get another layer added on to them. We're seeing more different sides of them. And this is more of a emotional side. You know, this is them moving on from whatever grief they're dealing with or issues, right? For Sophia, she doesn't like to feel like she's pinned down, so she's going to become the boss lady. Penguin, he comes for nothing, and everybody thinks he's a joke, so he's going to prove everybody wrong within the crime of Gotham. And then thirdly, the most important thing is the plot to this whole story is making sense. It's well balanced. They're not trying to tie in too much, and they're not trying to add so many other DC characters that could mess up some plans that maybe other directors and writers have ideas for. And so Matt Reeves is not trying to use every one just in case. So I really like that. Sometimes less is more and more is less. And obviously this kind of works in this show, in the way Warner Brothers Discovery and DC Comics and James Gunn's and others are going forward with their projects for next year and more. So that's where I get the idea of this. So I gotta love it for that. So I'm definitely giving this a 1 out of 6. I'm giving this an 8. What a great episode. Just great. Loving this series. I cannot wait for more. And another thing I like too, just to put out there, I love the cinematic photography in this. Like, really well done. And I just like how everything's just played out. So, and it just feels like such a good mobster movie, film, show, series, whatever. It just feels such a good story to it. So I'm loving it. But that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys. Out.